welcome to another brand new episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to the podcast that houses a safe and open listening space for casual, cold, and dumb takes in the world of professional wrestling and sports. And wrestling fans, it must have been one wild week for you all. Whether you're a casual, especially for the casual, but mainly for hardcore wrestling fans and core fans like myself. Again, us core fans are in the middle ground of casual and core, but again, as a core fan, I lean towards that casual side nowadays. But anyway, it's been a crazy week for wrestling. Last Sunday, at the time of this recording, we just had AEW's pay-per-view Revolution. I already did a review of that, so that was my previous episode, so you can go check that out. And then we had Monday Night Raw, which was a shit show. And then Dynamite happened on Wednesday, and there are a couple of things I want to talk to you about that in this episode. And SmackDown happened, just so happened recently, but I may talk about some things that happened on that show on this podcast. And speaking of today's episode, there were so many things that happened in wrestling this week that I wanted to talk about, but I just couldn't make one particular video about it or like multiple videos about it. So I thought to myself, why not make a podcast episode dedicated to like a multi-topical wrestling kind of thing? I guess you could call it the multi-topical wrestling episode. That's what we're going to call it. The multi-topical wrestling episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. Where I just grab a bunch of wrestling topics and, give my quick takes on each of them. So that's what we're going to do here in this episode today. But before we get started, I got to do it in plugs. If you follow me on Twitter, if you're not, then you probably should. I'm at Very Cold Lasagna. Same thing on Instagram. I'm at Very Cold Lasagna as well. And if you listen to this podcast on an audio format, make sure you to do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor FM. Make sure you go listen to that. If you're on the road, driving, or you're going out for walks, and you want to listen to it on those platforms. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every vodcast that goes up live on YouTube. And make sure you also subscribe for those exclusive YouTube extras that don't go out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor FM. The theme for this multi-topical wrestling episode, again, I got several topics listed here that I want to go to because, again, there's just so many of them, and I kind of didn't want to do separate videos on them because it's not that I'm lazy. It's just that I just want to go all out on these takes. I really want to. So here we go. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with this first take right here. This first topic I actually forgot to cover on the AEW Revolution review episode, and this was the big major signing that happened at AEW Revolution. So after the ladder match at Revolution, AEW was about to announce the big Hall of Fame signing that the Big Show was hyping up on last week's Dynamite. At the time, it's on March 3rd, the March 3rd Dynamite. So here comes the big Hall of Fame signing. It says outwork everyone, and out came Christian. Yes, that Christian, Edge's sidekick, Edge's tag team buddy, that Christian just came back, made his in-ring return after 7 years. And that Christian that just returned to the Royal Rumble just 2 months ago. And yeah, Christian, who is now going back to his TNA name, Christian Cage, signed his AEW contract and just outright left. Then on Dynamite, he confronted AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, and Omega tried to sneak attack him, but Christian Cage tried to give him the kill switch, but Don Callis pulled him out of the ring. and Christian hinted at going after the Kenny Omega's AEW World Title. Now, honestly, as much as I like Christian, I thought he was kind of cool. In 2011, feuding with Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Title. That was a really good summer feud. And he does some pretty cool stuff with Edge. He's not gonna be that guy that significantly boosts the ratings. I was looking on Twitter, like even the hardcore fans did not like the hype around this. I mean, and a lot of people were feeling bad for Christian to be put in this position. And honestly, I feel bad too for him, because I don't know why AEW needs to overhype this announcement in the first place. Like, why did they need to go through this trouble to have a guy like Christian, who is Hall of Fame like worthy, but not this level of Hall of Fame worthy? I'm sorry to say it. It's just a complete disservice to both Christian, but also the Big Show, because you pretty much had Big Show go out there on his first episode of Dynamite to hype up a Hall of Fame worthy announcement that ended up being a dud. So, yeah, Christian Cage is now in AEW, and I don't know, AEW is starting to become real close to becoming TNA 2.0. If they gotta be careful. They're signing all these ex-WWE/TNA guys, like now it's Christian, and then earlier it was Sting, and then of course you're getting all the recently ex-WWE guys like John Moxley/Dean Ambrose, The Revival, Ty Dillinger/Shawn Spears, like all these WWE rejects, and then of course Cody Rhodes, and a lot of these wrestlers, like ex-WWE guys, like and TNA guys, you're using them on TV instead of using, like, you know, the roster that you were supposed to assemble, like the current roster that was neither WWE or TNA, and you're not helping them grow or develop a personality, a character, charisma. Instead, you're relegating them to like your YouTube shows that nobody watches, Dark and now Dark Elevation. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, Christian Cage is in AEW, and well, we'll see what happens with them. I hope he gets one last run in wrestling, because I don't think WWE was gonna give it to him. Speaking of WWE, man, this was probably the main reason why I wanted to make this episode right here. So NXT last week featured a WWE Women's Tag Team title match between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I bet a lot of you listening to this podcast who are casuals do not even know who these people are. And I can't blame you, because like I don't know why they don't bother to do vignettes of fucking Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. And can you blame them? They don't like look appealing to the casual fan. But anyway, so Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they won the Women's Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team Tournament, and they faced off against the champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, and the match ended in controversy when main roster official Adam Pearce had a main roster referee replace knocked out NXT referee, and as Shayna Baszler had the Kirifuda clutch locked in on Dakota Kai, Dakota passed out, and the replacement ref ruled the match in favor of Shayna and Nia. So that apparently got General Manager William Regal very upset, and later on he promised two big announcements. One of those in regards to this match. And I honestly thought it was going to be like, you know, they're going to probably have a rematch at a future takeover, or probably at WrestleMania, and like a multi-woman match. But nope. Guess what bullshit they pulled? They elected to create new women's tag team titles specifically for NXT. Yeah. Why the fuck was this necessary? Why the hell are we having more titles that you can't even put over on the main roster? Like, what happened to quality over quantity here? Like, are we is WWE's crack ass writing team even more high than usual? Like, for as much flack as I give AEW for their lack of like character or like personality in the wrestlers, like, for God's sakes, WWE, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like, wasn't the simple solution was to have Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez face off against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax in at least a fair rematch, or at least in a interpromotional like triple threat or fatal four-way tag team elimination match at WrestleMania or something? I mean, I don't care for Dakota Kai or Raquel Gonzalez, but at least if I was booking it, I mean, you at least have to book them in a goddamn rematch of sorts. Like, come on. It makes a little bit of sense, don't you think? But apparently the WWE, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's also apparently stupid because, well, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez already lost the titles, not even by the end of the night. Like, they already lost it about, well, apparently less than half an hour to Shotzi Blackheart, who is fucking, man, she is something. She is something, man. She is, oh, man. Like, Shotzi Blackheart is the thing in NXT. And she lost it. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez lost it to Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. So, you pretty much, like, devalued your women's tag team titles right away. And, shoosh, I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. If I didn't say it enough already, but I don't know if I ever said it here on this podcast, but I've said it enough times to, like, a bunch of, a couple of people, that WWE does not have enough women. They don't have enough women teams to make this work. And before you go say, oh, they have Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, or whoever the fuck they are. They have Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They have, who would they just sign? Gigi Dolan or Priscilla Kelly. That's the person. And whoever her tag team partner is. And there's another tag team, but that's like five tag teams, and only one or two of those tag teams, 2 of 5, is an F. It's still an F. That's a F percentage. What are we doing here? And I bet, like, they're gonna break up. They are going to break up like a good portion of those teams, like, down the line, making the NXT Women's Tag Team titles even more devaluable. I don't know. It just does not make any sense. And even before then, the women's tag team titles were already bad enough. They were already bad enough. There already weren't enough women to make this work. There already weren't enough women's teams to make this work. It was like, they could have just at least given Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez a damn rematch. It's not that hard, people. It really isn't. But apparently WWE, it's just like, let's slap on another women's tag team title for NXT and call it a day. It just makes no sense. It really doesn't. But I'll say it once, I'll repeat myself again. Whether it's on the main roster or NXT, there ain't enough damn teams to make this work. It hasn't then, it hasn't now, it never will. If you want one set of women's tag team titles, keep it. Just keep it. Even if, like, come on. You're still not going to have enough women's teams. Valuable women's teams to make this work. God damn it. Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, those NXT women's tag team titles, man. That just triggered me. That just really ticked me off. But anyway, moving on. So, continuing to talk about NXT, there have been a lot of rumors going around. Again, these are just rumors. Take this with a big grain of salt. Now, normally, I don't normally talk about rumors unless if it's Deshaun Watson going to the 49ers. There have been rumors going around about NXT possibly moving to Tuesday nights starting April 13th. And that depends on if anything happens with the National Hockey League and NBC like coming together to agree on a new TV package deal. Now, it's already been talked about that ESPN is already doing like this streaming rights deal with the NHL. Now, it's dependent on what happens with NBC and the NHL because their deal expires in October of this year. So if they come together to make a new deal, so pretty much, yeah, NXT has to move because you got Wednesday night hockey. Now, if this happens, I think this is the best move for NXT. And it is the best move regardless of what the NHL decides to do. Now, if NXT moves to Tuesday nights, I mean, yeah, daily wrestling pretty much returns because you got Monday Night Raw, NXT on Tuesday, AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, and then SmackDown on Friday. So, oh man, it's like way too much wrestling. At least like with Dynamite and NXT, like and Raw and SmackDown, you at least get a 2-day break, at least a break in between. I mean, who cares about Impact in NXT UK anyway? But a positive about this though is that the NXT and AEW like so-called war, it's over. It'll be over with. Like both shows will finally be away from each other, and they'll finally be able to grow if they choose to do so. They'll finally be able to grow their audience if they choose to do so. So hopefully with the move to Tuesday nights, NXT can rediscover its identity. Like, hopefully they can go back to doing what they originally did, like develop their talent. Hopefully no more like being like an AEW lookalike. And well, let's just hope for the best. And NXT moves to another night. Oh man, come on! It's not really like NXT admits defeat thing. I mean, come on! It's the best for both parties, you know, because again, they're not gonna grow if they both like trying to steal each other's audiences. So we'll see what happens there if it turns out to be true, but just stay tuned. So next topic I wanted to cover here is Vince McMahon, the CEO, the chairman of WWE. Again, this is just another rumor. This is just another report. So take this with the biggest grain of salt in the world. My filthy casuals. He's apparently banning leg and thigh slaps. So you know how when Shawn Michaels, I know some of you should know Shawn Michaels by this point. He does sweet chin music. He does like that finisher, that super kick, that sweet chin music super kick. Like you'd see back in the day that like he does sweet chin music, and you can't see it in the audio version how I'm visualizing this. He slaps his leg when he does sweet chin music. He slaps his leg to make it sound more like, you know, explosive. But anyway, various dirt sheets covered this like new edict, at least what it looked like it was, that Vince McMahon was putting in a ban on the use of leg and thigh slaps because someone on, I think it was last week's SmackDown or like a couple weeks ago, that someone made their leg slapping super obvious, and and it pissed off Mr. McMahon. Now, in my opinion, while I think it's a silly thing for McMahon to get pissed about, I actually agree. I actually agree with him if this ban is going through. Now, I'm not seeing it quite yet because I watched a little bit of Adam Cole and Finn Balor on NXT. Don't ask me why, but I've seen if they were doing going through with the leg slapping ban, but I was seeing a lot of leg slapping still and thigh slapping because, you know, Adam Cole, baby, and Finn Balor love to do that leg slapping. So I'm not seeing a lot of like banning or fines on leg slapping yet, but we'll see. I guess maybe it's only on Raw and SmackDown, but it should be all around WWE because, man, for as much like cool effect that leg slapping has on like super kicks or finishers, wrestlers nowadays make it way too damn obvious that they're slapping their leg, especially like Adam Cole, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and a bunch of other like indie wrestlers that are coming over to the big time companies like WWE and AEW. And come on, man, they're making it way too damn obvious. And well, they like if you're being mad at Vince for putting this ban, you should be mad at the wrestlers for making it too damn obvious. Oh, but what about Shawn Michaels? But what about him? He knew when to bounce, when and when not to use that leg slap on Sweet Chin Music. I mean, have you seen, like, I know Shawn Michaels, like, yeah, he slapped his leg for Sweet Chin Music, but what about the leg slaps he used for Sweet Chin Music out of nowhere, you know? And then, you know, I think this will be a good thing for not AEW because, well, the Cucks that suck and Kenny Omega are going to love their leg slapping, and they're probably not going to follow suit on a ban because, well, they love leg slapping on their super kick porties. So as for WWE, I think this will be a good thing for the wrestlers. No more leg slapping because, well, it's become, their leg slapping has become way too obvious. And if it's made its way to the wrestling world, even better. So, also, now we talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite. There was some things that had to be said on Dynamite because in case you missed my Revolution review or the Revolution pay-per-view itself, because you're smart and don't watch AEW, and I reviewed this so you don't have to. AEW did this exploding barbed wire death match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for the World Championship. And Kenny Omega won, and at the end of the pay-per-view, Jon Moxley was left handcuffed, and with 1 minute remaining, there's this big explosion that was supposed to happen, and Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley's former rival, ran out to save Moxley from this big explosion, but this explosion went off, and instead of the big boom, people at home that paid $50 and the people that were in attendance that paid like probably a shit ton of money to go, instead got a big wet fart of sparklers that you would get on 4th of July. Yeah. Yeah, you paid $50 or probably even more if you were there live for a big wet ass fart. And what made things even worse was that Eddie Kingston still sold it as if he, like, you know, passed out from the explosion, whereas Jon Moxley would later cut an off-air promo blaming Kenny Omega for building a weak-ass bomb. That tells you right there that they're trying to cover this thing up. So they actually tried to cover this thing up on Dynamite a couple days ago when Eddie Kingston tried to cover up his overselling of the explosion by talking about his anxiety and trying to recall a similar situation that made him just as anxious as the explosion on Sunday at Revolution by talking about being in a jail cell awaiting a court trial. Like, how does that make sense? And then Moxley and Kingston also tried to blame Kenny getting the bomb from TNA. I'm like, well, I mean, it's TNA, so I guess that kind of, I don't know. If you're casual, then yeah, maybe Kenny did get the bomb from TNA. So because TNA sucks. But anyway, later in the night, Kenny Omega and his manager Don Callis, they didn't really have much of an explanation. They only went on to say that they took away what they wanted from fans in regards to the big explosion, and they ended up winning in the end because the explosion didn't happen as planned, and thus Moxley and Kingston were both embarrassed. Moxley because he didn't get his big bye-bye, and for Kingston for his heroics. So pretty much they're trying to cover this thing up with this embarrassing explosion by trying to talk about other things unrelated to it. And that's why it made it so weak sauce. Like it was very weak explanations. Like had Don Callis and Kenny Omega like actually come out and said, come up with the idea backstage and ended up saying, "Oh, we actually rigged the bomb like that to make everyone, especially you, the fans, look like idiots." If had they said that, then I wouldn't be so critical about it. If they're trying to be like heels, even though they both suck, then it wouldn't be that bad. It wouldn't they can actually play off of that. But this is AEW. They're trying to divert valid criticism, and they couldn't even properly play it into the storyline. They couldn't properly cover it up in the storyline. Very weak. Very weak. Speaking of very weak, there was this women's wrestler named Maki Ito who, man, she had some very weak sauce on Dynamite on Wednesday. So pretty much what was going on was that Maki Ito was in a 6-woman tag team match where she teamed with Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and they went up against the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida, Ryo Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa. Now, I personally didn't care for this match at all, or like anyone but Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. And I don't know, like I saw this video on Twitter, like it was making the rounds, and damn, what I saw with Maki Ito, that's just why I'm even talking about it in the first place. This shit was super embarrassing, man. So Maki Ito is making her entrance. Apparently, Maki Ito is like this wrestler for like 5 years at Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, and she's also a J-pop singer. So she comes out making her entrance, and she's singing in Japanese and stuff. So she's like, again, she's a J-pop singer. And all the women started brawling while Maki was singing. And when Hikaru Shida went on stage to go after her, Maki Ito hit her with some of the most weak-looking mic shots and punches to the head that I've ever seen in my life. Like, you don't see, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to use the Four Horsewomen as an example, but, do you even see the freaking Four Horsewomen or, like, any of the NXT women's wrestlers, like, do any of that, like, weak-ass shit? in WWE, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? She was like, like, it's like, what? Like, come on, you're on national television. Did they even talk to each other? Did like Tony Khan man like try to like, walk her through this shit? Like, oh man. Dude, like I would show you some footage of what exactly I'm talking about here, but I'll just leave you this still image if you're watching the video version. But if you're listening to the audio version, you get what I'm talking about here. Again, I would show you some footage of what exactly I'm talking about here, but I don't want Tony Khan man going full Susie Lou on my ass and copyright claiming this podcast. So I left you this still image for you guys. Again, some very embarrassing shit that I've seen as a wrestling fan, but I don't think it's the end of the world for her. She's still very young, apparently. And, like, get her adjusted to American wrestling and give her an actual character, please. So, some other embarrassing stuff happened on Dynamite because I also heard that AEW was having audio issues during an interview prior to Ethan Page's debut match. Again, I don't know who Ethan Page is, and I don't know why AEW bothers to even like, at least give a vignette on the dude. Like, come on, man, it's not that hard. And the audio issues even carried over through the duration of his match, and the audio consisted of like NBA audio from the All-Star game. Oh man, that was some pretty funny shit. That was like pretty funny shit. Everyone was getting like triggered by that, and apparently this was a TNT thing, like, and not an AEW issue. Because when I was watching replays of it online, like, because I had to do it for this episode, it wasn't in like the AEW feed when I saw it. So apparently it was indeed a TNT thing. So apparently TNT didn't get the memo that the NBA doesn't air until a day later. So yeah, like, TNT, get your shit together. So we have a couple more topics here that I want to discuss before we close off the show today. Last thing I want to talk about with AEW is the Inner Circle. They had this War Console on Dynamite in the closing segment because they were having a decline in the last couple of weeks, which included Sammy Guevara leaving the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho suggested adding a new member to bolster the ranks and give the group a new attitude, but MJF suggested addition by subtraction. In other words, losing a member, like kicking a member out of the group. But Sammy Guevara came out and wanted to show Chris Jericho some damning evidence of what MJF is doing to the group. So Sammy Guevara like had this phone footage ready to go, and it shows MJF like trying to convince Santana, Ortiz, and Jake Hager to like unite with MJF to kick Chris Jericho out of the Inner Circle. So at first, the Inner Circle looked like they were gonna go after Jericho and Sammy Guevara, but as JR said on the broadcast, the worm has turned, and literally the original Inner Circle came together and fired MJF's ass out of the Inner Circle. And before they were about to kick MJF's ass, MJF, he was trying to like be a typical chicken shit and tried to plead for forgiveness. But it was a tease because he revealed that he built his own Inner Circle, and the lights went out, and when the lights went back on, the Revival, Shawn Spears, and MJF's bodyguard Wardlow, along with Tully Blanchard, were standing right behind the Inner Circle, and MJF's new stable completely decimated the Inner Circle, and Wardlow powerbombed a bloody Chris Jericho onto a crash pad to end Wednesday's Dynamite. Now, honestly, I don't know. I felt pretty mixed on the the whole segment, because for one, I thought the footage was kind of the more I watched it, because I just kind of felt half-assed on everyone's end, and I felt like the acting on Santana, Ortiz, and Hager when they were like getting ready to beat down on Jericho and Guevara, only to like turn around and go after MJF. It could have been better. They could have like cornered Jericho and Guevara, but then suddenly, woof, we're coming for you, MJF. Like, the band's back together. And I don't know, they dragged it for so long. They it made it a little too obvious that, oh, well, the original Inner Circle is back together. It's like, well, that ruined it a little bit. So other than that, I guess it'll be kind of interesting to see how Jericho does as a face in AEW. We've already seen it a lot in WWE, but never in a setting like AEW. But I personally prefer him as a heel, but I guess with like a big heel like MJF, it should be pretty interesting. But here's the catch. I think AEW is going to have his hands full if they want to sell like me, people like me, on the rest of MJF's new faction, because MJF, he actually has potential. He actually has potential and room to grow. But everyone else, oh man, they're complete dog shit. Because you got the boring ass Revival, Dax Hardwood, and Cash Wheeler, also known as Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder from their WWE days. And then you got the complete afterthought Shawn Spears and MJF's bodyguard Wardlow. Man, that's not really an elite threat to the Inner Circle. So they better find a really good way to sell this group as hot shit and a big threat to the rest of AEW, because I don't know, they surely don't look like it, despite what happened on Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there. Now, one more thing I want to talk about, actually, one more thing before I want to get to the big main thing I wanted to talk about, was what they're doing on SmackDown. Like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. So there were a couple of things that happened on SmackDown. One was what they're doing with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. It's like, well, they're pretty much not doing anything because they're still having Sasha and Bianca team up. And their promos, like Sasha's promos, are just garbage. I don't know why, but I guess Sasha's just not really good at promos right now. And they're not even building up towards their match at Mania. Like, what are they trying to go for here? What are they going for? And then you got Daniel Bryan trying to insert himself again in the Universal Championship in another world title match. This time, the Universal Championship match between Edge and Roman Reigns, which is not even it's not even being built up to yet. Like, what is WWE waiting for here? Why are we teasing Daniel Bryan being inserted into the Universal title match? What the hell? I swear to God, if WWE listens, okay, here's the thing. Let me backtrack here. It was okay, at least for me, for Daniel Bryan to interject himself, for fans to have their moment at WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement to have their moment at WrestleMania 30, because it was a sign that fans finally got what they want. But what has Daniel Bryan done in 2021 and following his vegan gimmick back in 2019? What has he done to get back in the limelight? What has he done other than losing so much, putting people over? What does he have a gimmick? He's not putting on great promos. What do people see in him? What are we seeing in Daniel Bryan in 2021? I don't get it. This is not the same Daniel Bryan that we saw in the Yes Movement days. And this is actually an even worse Daniel Bryan that we saw since the Yes Movement days. And even, I guess, the vegan Daniel Bryan. I don't know, man. It's I swear, if they really put Daniel Bryan in the Universal title match between Edge and Roman, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be really pissed. But that's another time for another day. My last topic I wanted to cover was this this kind of little drama thing that's going on between a YouTuber and Tony Khan. I didn't think Tony Khan would actually go respond to a very small YouTuber. But he actually managed to do so. So pretty much what's going on, what happened a couple of days ago at the time of this recording, there was a YouTuber on March 9th named Girl on Cinema. She called out AEW for manually claiming two of her videos where she reviewed the Shaquille O'Neal match and the Chris Jericho MJF press conference from the March 3rd AEW Dynamite episode. So Girl on Cinema is this YouTuber with 4K subscribers, and she does quick movie and wrestling reviews. She recently just started a new channel just for wrestling stuff because of what we're going to get into. And she also has a Patreon for her full-length reviews and other stuff. She spent pretty much all of her Tuesday on March 9th going after Tony Khan, calling him for hypocrisy, how her videos fell under fair use. And a day later, Tony Khan actually responded to her. I didn't think Tony Khan would actually respond to such a small YouTuber. And in a very sarcastic and egotistical way, he asked her to review the match, review the matches without having to illegally pirate videos / matches that he spends millions and millions of dollars on producing. Wow, Tony, what a way to make yourself an asshole. So she ended up slapping on an AEW logo for her, like, future like wrestling videos, like the barbed wire death match, obviously due to copyright reasons. And then she would end up getting, like, unrelated to AEW, but she would also get a copyright strike on her Major League Wrestling video, and she would also get another copyright strike for her roast on Wrestling Otaku. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with Girl on Cinema and Tony Khan. I mean, it's a dead drama by now, but something I wanted to give my opinions on real quick. To close the show. And while normally I would support a content creator that gets falsely flagged for copyright, I am like pro fair use too. I've seen it so many times, like in the last 2 years, especially like in regards to the Suzy Liu situation. I mentioned Suzy Liu like in the last couple episodes so many times because like this YouTuber named Suzy Liu like keeps going after people that call her out for like valid criticism, and this Suzy Liu person like reacts to stuff, then she doesn't transform it, and she pretty much like, again, she strikes out, she gives out false copyright claims, copyright strikes, and along with the fact that she's a massive hypocrite because she reacts to anime without any meaningful commentary to consider it fair use. So that's Suzy Liu for you. But I recommend YouTubing it so you can get the full story. But, I mean, again, no, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But anyway. But in this case, however, for a bit as big of an idiot Tony Khan is, I actually think he's in the right here. Because I watched the videos in question, the Shaquille O'Neal match, and the Jericho presser that Girl on Cinema reviewed, and I don't know. I watched it, and she does have the commentary to consider it fair use, but she shows the entirety of the Shaquille O'Neal match in the Jericho segments. But, and sorry, I'm like kind of losing my train of thought here again, but she plays the entirety of the Shaq match, the entirety of the Jericho segment, respectively, with no cuts whatsoever. And on YouTube, you just can't do it at. Like, yes, I do. I did that sometimes previously, like in the past on YouTube, but I don't know. I stopped doing it because, well, I'm just like tired of YouTube's BS. It's stupid, but here on YouTube, just like, it's a no-no. I hate it as much as the next guy, but it's just something you can't do. It's stupid, but hell, what are you gonna do? Like, you can counterclaim it, but you just gotta wait for the freaking company, and a lot of times they turn you down. And the other thing that she shouldn't have done either also was claim that her videos on AEW, like the reviews, especially on the Shaq match, was claiming that the revenue was hers. And in actuality, it's not. It's AEW's. And again, I'm not defending AEW in this case, but yeah, when you're trying to claim a video that you did do commentary on, but you don't own the footage on, you can't claim revenue on that. You just can't. You kind of lost your case there. So in essence, like, I'd say she's actually very lucky that AEW didn't give her like 2 copyright strikes for that, because had they did that, her channel would have been terminated. Like, her channel would have been terminated, not just from the Wrestling Otaku one and the Major League Wrestling videos that she's done, but the AEW videos too. Like, so she's very fortunate she still has her channel. Now again, I support Girl on Cinema in this situation, but I still think that she's wrong. But I also think that Tony Khan is wrong here too, because the fact that he actually responded to her, it's idiotic. It really is. It gives him like this super egotistical, oh, I can control you and everyone else around everyone. It's like authoritarian. It's like, oh, can you please not use our stuff illegally? That's like come on, man. You're better than that. I guess you're like too busy like sucking off your daddy's, you know what. But I digress. So either way, both sides are in the wrong. Girl on Cinema for trying to claim fair use when she uses AEW's footage excessively long with no cuts. But she has the commentary. But again, the footage is what ruins her case. Tony Khan is also in the wrong for responding to her and being a dickhead about it. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on it. I support Girl on Cinema. I don't side with her in this particular situation, and obviously I don't support Tony Khan in this situation. So I don't support either side in this situation. But yeah, that is pretty much this multi-topical wrestling episode of Very Cold Lasagna. We pretty much covered a lot here in rapid fire. And if you want to hear or listen or watch another one of these multi-topical episodes, let me know. Let me know your guys' feedback on it, because this is certainly a lot of fun to cover these in like rapid fire. So let me know what you guys think about this multi-topical episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this episode today on a lot of things. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. Make sure to listen to me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor FM. And as always, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified of each and every upload that goes up. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your most casual, cold, and dumb takes on the world of wrestling and football. And I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.